Weilà raga, come state ragazzi? Spero tutto bene, benvenuti in questo nuovo video bilingue, quindi parleremo sia in italiano che in inglese. So, welcome everybody to yet another video here on the Weilà Tom channel. This is another bilingual video, so that means we're going to be speaking in both English and Italian. Di che cosa parleremo oggi? What are we going to talk about today? So, I wanted to talk a little bit about l'importanza della ripetizione, the importance of repetition. E come mai? Why is that? Come mai? How come? Can also mean that. How come? Come mai? Why is that? You could just say perché or come mai? Or e perché? And like, why is that? How come? Okay? Perché? Come mai? Allora. Because when you're studying, sometimes you feel like, okay, I want to keep going, voglio sempre progredire, voglio sempre andare avanti, I always want to move on, but what happens to il vecchio contenuto? What happens to that old content? Le cose che hai studiato prima, the things that you studied before? Well, what happens with a language is that you're actually compounding information. So it's not this idea that you study a topic, you move on to another, and you never see that material again. When you're studying things in isolazione, in isolation, obviously it can appear that things are happening that way. You did present tense, you did object pronouns, you did passato prossimo, now you're on to imperfetto. And imperfetto looks a whole lot different from that other content. But really what you could do, once you have le basi, once you have your foundation and the basics, le basi, the basics, you actually should start to incorporare tutto quanto. You should really start to incorporate everything. So after you understand how to use imperfetto, for example, so ancora una volta, once again, the basics, le basi, you then have to start to aggiungere cose del passato. You have to start to add things from the past, things that you studied previously. So that could look like having a long sentence with two actions that happen, right? You could say, for example, mentre dormivo mi hai chiamato. Or, let's swap the order, mi hai chiamato mentre dormivo. Or, even better, mi hai chiamato mentre stavo dormendo. You called me while I was sleeping. Or, I was sleeping when you called me. And then you could say something like, il mio telefono non l'ho sentito. My phone, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear my phone. Non ho sentito il mio telefono. Even in doing that, il mio telefono, you're bringing in possession. And that deals with gender number agreement and definite articles. You're saying non ho sentito, passato prossimo with a negation. Mentre dormivo or mentre stavo dormendo, while I was sleeping, using the past progressive, so the gerundio, stavo dormendo, or using imperfetto, dormivo. And then we've got mi hai chiamato, so using a direct object pronoun, because you called me, mi hai chiamato, with passato prossimo. So right there, that's some good stuff. That's incorporating a lot of stuff that molto probabilmente, most likely, most likely, that's how I would translate it. It literally means most probably, but I don't think we say that in English, most likely. Yeah, molto probabilmente l'hai studiato già, o l'hai già studiato, you've already studied it. Why did I just correct that? L'hai già studiato. There is a preference for including words like già in between your auxiliary verb and your main verb. L'hai già studiato instead of l'hai studiato già. Both are fine. Both essentially convey the same thing. But l'hai già studiato, I feel sounds better. Sounds better to my orecchio, to my ear. So, tutto questo per dire, all of this to say, tutto questo per dire, all of this to say, la ripetizione è molto importante, anzi, è fondamentale. Repetition is very important. La ripetizione è molto importante. Anzi, if anything, or actually, or really, è fondamentale. It's fundamental. What does fundamental mean? It means it's like integral to the process. It is paramount. It's of great importance. It's something that you can't neglect. You have to have it a part of the process. Fa parte del processo integrale, or fa parte integrale del processo. It has an integral part of the process, or it is an integral part of the process. È figo parlare in modo bilingue, no? It's kind of cool to speak in a bilingual way, no? It's kind of cool. So yes, always do repetition, because language is compound. It's not about studying. So basically, languages, if I can remember as I'm thinking between two languages, are vertical, not horizontal. There we go. With languages, we don't do horizontal learning, we do vertical learning. So you have present tense, you have gender and number agreement, you have passato prossimo, imperfetto, possessive pronouns. That's what you're doing. You have to take all that information you have and push it forward and bring it forward with you. La devi portare avanti. You have to bring it forth, bring it forward. La devi portare avanti. And I got this idea because I was rewatching one of my videos from the Zero to Hero Italian Grammar series, which is my free course here on YouTube. I spent 6 or 7 months in 2025, starting in January, putting together this 30-part series. All the videos are about 30 minutes in length, in duration. And it's a proper Italian course, taking you from the most basic of topics and working our way up to very advanced stuff. So if you'd like to watch that, even some of the videos, you don't have to watch it from lesson 1 to 30. If you'd like to, you can. There's always a link down below in the description and also on my main page if you just go to youtube.com/Weilà Tom. I was watching one of my videos. It was lesson 6, I believe, on I pronomi diretti, direct object pronouns. I pronomi diretti, direct object pronouns. And as I was watching that, it was interesting to see how, given that I knew this video was all'interno di un corso, was within a course, so un contesto più ampio, sort of a greater context, I didn't go into as much detail as I would normally be inclined to if that video was meant to stand on its own. And so I haven't watched a lot of those videos because they are 30 minutes long. So even for me, the creator, sometimes I don't want to watch a 30-minute long video. But I did watch this entire one. I paused probably like at the 16th minute because I had to go do something else. But then I put it back on. I said, let's finish it. Let's see what it's like to be the student. And I made the video so many months ago, I forgot all the little details. And it was interesting to see how I taught it. And that's what I was sharing just a few moments ago. It was interesting because I taught it knowing that there are 5 lessons before it that I'm anticipating the students have watched if they're following the whole course in order to really grasp everything in the video. And that's one of the benefits of doing a corso, a course, because you don't have to worry about cramming everything you can into just one video. It's very comprehensive, copre tutto, it covers everything, copre tutto. Or si tratta di tutto. You could also say si tratta. Si tratta is like, di che cosa si tratta, we often say. Like if you're asking about a book or a project, something you're working on, it's the way of saying, what is this on? What does it have to do with? Di che cosa si tratta, what does it touch on? So yeah, that's the benefit of doing a corso, because you don't have to cram everything in. And also it's cool just to see how I teach, because I film a video and I don't spend too much time, as I used to, really rewatching my stuff. I knew my videos verbatim, parola per parola, word for word. I knew everything I said in a video. Now I'm a little bit more tranquillo. Adesso sono un po' più tranquillo. Now I'm a little bit more relaxed. Adesso sono un po' più tranquillo. Now I'm a bit more calm. Tranquillo is like, it means tranquil. Tranquilla, if it's a female, tranquilli, tranquille in the plural. Just a way of saying you're chill, you're relaxed, you're peaceful. So yeah. Comunque sì, so that's pretty much il punto del video. That is pretty much the point of the video. You always have to repeat things, but repeating things does not have to look like un ripasso. It doesn't have to look like a review. Ripasso, a review, because you're going to repass over something, go over it again. Ripasso is a review. It doesn't have to be, okay, let me stop what I'm doing and go totally back and learn present tense from A to Z. No, non è necessario per niente. It's not necessary at all. Non è necessario per niente. It's not necessary at all. Per niente. At all. Instead, cerca di aggiungere ciò che hai studiato prima al nuovo contenuto. Instead, try to include the old content into the new content. Try to include that which you studied before into the new content. Ciò che hai studiato prima, that which you studied before, the things that you studied before. That I find to be molto più efficace, un uso molto più efficace del tuo tempo e dei tuoi sforzi. That I find to be much more of an effective use of your time and your efforts. Il tuo tempo e i tuoi sforzi. I tuoi sforzi, your efforts. So yeah, I would suggest doing that. And even see what we're doing now in this video. I really like this new metodo di fare video. I really like this new method of doing videos where I allow vocabulary to uscire fuori. I let words just come out as they normally do in base al contesto, based upon the context, in base al contesto. And we can also see how translations are not always perfect. Sometimes there's even more alternatives to le traduzioni che vi sto fornendo, to the translations that I am providing you, che vi sto fornendo. Or is it fornendo? Fornire. See, sometimes even with vowels, when you speak a word but don't write it a lot, I think it's fornire, to furnish, to provide. So perhaps there are even other translations that are better or alternatives to the ones that I'm providing you guys with today, but this is just us speaking al volo. You know, we're just kind of speaking a rota libera. We're freewheeling it, a rota libera, you know? We're just going wherever the good winds take us, as I always like to say. And that's very much what I did in the Zero to Hero Italian Grammar series. I taught the lessons in a way that was necessary for that time and place and in that context. And that's what I do in my weekly group lessons. If you'd ever like to join us, check out the link in the top line of the description to learn more on the page on my website. And you can also email me to join my mailing list. Even though I repeat topics, it's never the same as it was many years ago when I first covered the topic in a group lesson. Because every time you approach a topic, you are approaching it differently as a teacher and also you as a student. So, and you may incorporate new things from the past. That's what I've been doing a lot in our lessons. So, if there's one thing you get from today's video, as we're now going to wrap it up. Adesso sto per concludere il video. Now I'm going to conclude the video. In English, I say I'm going to wrap it up. Wrap it up non esiste in italiano. It doesn't exist in Italian. So as we're now approaching la conclusione, stiamo avvicinando la conclusione del video. We're approaching the conclusion of today's video, the end of today's video. The main point is what? Il punto principale è cosa? E che cosa? Qual è il punto principale del video? Il messaggio principale del video. What's the main point of the video? Well, besides tutto questo vocabolario, besides all of this great vocab we're covering today, if I do say so myself, when you're doing repetition, one form of repetition is looking at something da zero, from the ground up, from A to Z, right? Start on page 1, chapter 1. But the other form of review is just to incorporate that which you've already learned into the new material once you have the foundation and the basics down of that new material, because you then don't want to overload yourself, you know? That's just not necessary. You don't want to be sopraffatto. You don't want to be overwhelmed. Sopraffatto. Non è necessario per niente. Eh? Also some recall right there. See? We're recalling something we already covered in today's video. Non è necessario per niente. That's another way of reviewing too. Call back something you just learned. See how you can apply it. Does it go? Does it work? Does it fit? Give it a shot. So yeah, remember, learning Italian, learning any language is a vertical process, not a horizontal process. We're compounding and stacking information. And I think that will also keep your studies really interesting and will keep you motivated because you'll feel good about yourself and confident when you can make some really beautiful translations, long phrases, right? With information that you remembered from the past. And if you have blocchi, if you have sort of like moments where you're like, wait, what just happened? I don't remember how to use this. Then that's where you know your weak spots are and you have to work on those to improve. Per migliorare, to improve. Per migliorare. So that's a great way of studying without having to start from zero. It's just sort of starting from where you are to get you to where you'd like to be. That's the goal, guys. All right, so we're going to conclude today's video. Grazie mille per aver guardato questo video. Thank you very much for watching this video. Per aver guardato, for having watched, for watching. Thank you for tuning in and checking out this video, come direi in inglese, as I would say in English. And that's going to be it for today, guys. All right, so always remember to spread the love e ci vediamo come sempre quando? Alla prossima. Ciao ragazzi. Ciao. Ciao.